Do you ever wish that you could experience different cultures so you could witness and then choose for yourself which traditions and life practices you want to adopt, rather than just repeating what you've always known and hoping that it's best for you? Or maybe you don't think much about it, but when you do, you feel conflicted because when you're being honest with yourself, you know there are several things you already do that you'd like to shed, but you just continue because it's either your family's norm or your culture's norm. And it feels difficult to shed something so ingrained in your way of life. If you want some tips on how to find courage and clarity, and on how to live your best life by shedding and collecting the best traditions for you and your family, today's episode is especially for you. Hello, I'm Kendra Nielsen. Welcome to Fulfillment Therapy, where you will improve your relationship with yourself, your loved ones, and with God. You'll find healing, wellness, crucial mindset shifts, and self-development help. I'm a licensed therapist, personal trainer, and coach. In this podcast, you'll learn the skills and confidence needed to transform your life from merely surviving to living a fulfilling, flourishing life. You can't reach your God-given potential and become who you were meant to become by remaining where you are. If you're ready, we'll create an ignited life you can't wait to wake up to. And yes, it's possible. It's your time to shine, my friend. Welcome back to episode number 30, Costa Rican Takeaways, Collecting and Shedding Cultural Traditions. It's so great to have you guys back here and listening to another episode. Thank you again for all of your support. It's been amazing to get to know the audience a little bit through these emails and through social media things and things that you just have honestly reached out in other ways to let me know what you're thinking. I've had some incredible interactions with people as they've shared ripples that they've created through this podcast, and there is nothing more fulfilling than hearing those things. So thank you for that. I will have another funny prank video that I'm going to share at the end of this episode. Now, they won't all be funny pranks, but I really, really love pranks for some reason. I am very mischievous and they bring me so much joy. So I'm going to have one at the end of the episode, so stay tuned for that. So as I mentioned earlier, the episode today is about collecting and shedding cultural traditions. Well, I want you to think of someone you admire that marches to the beat of their own drum. You've probably noticed that they are more inclined to live intuitively and let go of the opinions of others. Or have you ever wondered how they do that? How they have learned to let go of family and cultural expectations and courageously be their own person. Today, I'm going to teach you some baby steps that you can take to become that same kind of person that bravely lives their best life, even when it may look a little different than what you first might have imagined. So as you guys know from the last episode, I just got back from Costa Rica last week, and I've been constantly thinking about what I learned while I was there. So I'm going to share just a few of those things. I learned that I really loved the ocean. Before, I was a little scared by it because I did not grow up around it, but I love it so much now. I love being more active and being less sedentary. I love being physically active, especially with my family. I really love experiencing new things, not just by myself, but again with my family, and giving them opportunities to see life through another cultural lens. I love letting them experience new things like surfing or diving or ziplining, and not even those are bigger things. Obviously, you can't always do those things, but even simple things like going to church in another country or speaking another language or being just around another language or doing other service projects and so many more things like that. I love igniting a greater curiosity in my kids. I learned how fulfilling it is for me to watch my children become braver and more confident. I learned that I love getting outside my comfort zone and encouraging my kids to get outside their own. I learned how much I love exposure therapy as ways to manage and minimize anxiousness. Like, we always talk about anxiety, and I've mentioned that in previous episodes, but it really comes down to just leaning in, to exposing yourself to the things that make you scared, and not in a way that's detrimental, like, I don't know, something that could be harmful to you, like drugs or anything like that, but like a healthy exposure. I learned that I love learning Spanish through like immersing yourself in that culture, not just learning it on your own. I learned that I feel most alive when I'm doing all these things, and that I feel more stagnant in the States right now. I learned that I'm a dreamer and I'm a doer, and that I'm good at helping people live their best lives in the same way. I learned to live my life more intuitively. I learned to slow down. I learned to be less judgmental about modesty because I've never been so hot and despised clothing so much. So suddenly it makes a little bit more sense to me in other cultures why people are not as modest. These are just a few of the things that I learned, and I've thought a lot about since I've been back. Now, many of these things I already knew, but it was just reaffirmed, and I had so much more clarity about it. It's like I know myself a little bit better after that experience. So since our return, I haven't been able to stop thinking about these insights. I don't know if you remember how I've often talked about how we can explore what it would take to become our best selves, and then we have to start acting on those steps. Well, sometimes I find that my clients panic when it isn't all clear, so I remind them that this is part of the journey. I think it was Gordon B. Hinckley that said, "Get on your knees and pray, and then get on your feet and work." And I'm not exactly sure why, but I love this part of the journey where you kind of explore what that is. After you get on your knees and pray, and then you just go to work. You make some sort of plan, and you're not exactly sure if it's the right one, but you start moving. You don't just sit there. I love the creation process, and I enjoy helping clients see the joy in that process as well, and find that curiosity instead of that fear in that process. So you might be wondering, what does this all have to do with Costa Rica and collecting and shedding those cultural traditions? Well, I'm about to go on a meditation and a prayer walk. I love these. I don't know if I've talked about them before, but I often put on some inspirational music, like on Insight Timer or something, or just anything that you have on a playlist. And then I go and take a long walk in nature. And then I pray. I just have a conversation with God. I tell him all my hopes and my desires and what I'm thinking, and I ask for some direction. I tell him where I think I should be heading and why, or where I want to be heading and why. And then I ask him to either provide some clarity by maybe closing doors or by opening doors so that I can take the next step. The current prayer walk that I'm about to take is about my Costa Rican insights. So when I was there, I thought that maybe I wanted to stay there or come back to Costa Rica or something, but I wasn't sure. And now that I'm home, the feeling of stagnancy has really increased. I feel restless and that there's something coming. And I talked to my husband about that this morning, and I said something like, I feel like I'm in a river and that there's a few stepping stones behind me that I've already moved past, but in front of me there aren't any steps lit up yet or that have risen up yet for me to cross. But I can feel that one is about to come up, and I'm just curiously waiting. I told him that it feels like it involves extended international travel or living even, and maybe Spanish, but I'm not really completely certain. It's a little bit of a guess, but it feels right in my bones. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before. All I have are just a few promptings or ideas of avenues to explore, and that's really it. With many of my clients, they have similar experiences where they're proactively trying to become their best selves by living congruently with their values and their strengths, like I've mentioned in previous episodes, and they're taking the steps to become what God would have them become. But when they've taken the previous steps and then they see that there aren't any more stepping stones in front of them to take, or these open doors, then I see that many times they panic. Well, this is where I remind them to have patience and have faith. God sees the bigger picture. Remember my favorite quote? I'm probably going to share this a lot of times, so please don't roll your eyes. Remember that quote by C.S. Lewis about how he's making us into a palace instead of a cottage? I'm going to read that to you so that if you're not familiar or you didn't hear those episodes, that you'll remember it, so that you'll still know what I'm talking about. C.S. Lewis said, "Imagine yourself as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. At first, perhaps you can understand what he's doing. He is getting the drains right and stopping the leaks in the roof and so on. You knew that those jobs needed doing, and so you are not surprised. But presently he starts knocking the house about in a way that hurts abominably and does not seem to make any sense. What on earth is he up to? The explanation is that he is building quite a different house than the one you thought of. Throwing out a new wing here, putting on an extra floor there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage, but he is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it himself." I just love that. And the whole point of that, there's a lot of different avenues I could take with that, but the whole point of that is that he knows that you are made for so much more than maybe you are right now. Well, then definitely than you are right now, because we have so much potential within us. So it's just about taking that baby step in that direction of becoming that palace instead of that cottage. Another quote I came across said, "Everything in life happens for a reason. God does not close one door without opening another one. Just prepare for what you're praying for. Have faith and believe." I really like that because that really sums up exactly what I'm saying. Maybe that stepping stone that you're expecting or that door you're expecting does not come in the direction that you thought it would. Maybe it veers off towards this other way that you didn't anticipate. But just keep preparing and have faith and believe that he sees the bigger picture and he knows what you're meant to become. And just step forward anyway. So remember that if a door shuts, another is about to open. If the next step isn't yet before you, don't lose hope, but get excited and curious about what is next. Enjoy the journey and the process. I like this stage because I feel like I get to be a co-creator with God and explore what I know about myself and my values and my strengths and even my weaknesses, as well as those of my family. I really believe that God wants us to use our agency to come up with a plan and then present it to him. I believe that he wants to see that we're serious about our dreams and our growth. As of today, right now, with the information that I have, I really think that I want to live abroad for 3 to 6 months, a year potentially, in different countries with a home base in Idaho. Now, I don't know how that could work with my family. They're all in different stages. One's in middle school, one's in high school, 2 are in elementary, and I know that would be a challenge, and I don't know how that would work. It doesn't really make sense. Financially, it doesn't overly make sense right now, and with the kids in that way, I don't know how that would come to be. But I don't let that deter me at all. I just allow myself to sit with those thoughts and explore that and open my heart and my mind to it. But I do know that I don't want to be just a tourist. I want to live beside the locals all over the world and learn from them. I want my family to learn from them. I want to shed American arrogance and that naivety. And I really want to help others discover the beauty of life and the beauty of this world and show them how to be brave and live the beautiful life that is in store for them, no matter what it looks like for them right now. When I talk about these things, I know this sounds a little bit cheesy maybe, but I feel like my atoms are humming. Like I feel alive. I feel like I'm fulfilling the measure of my creation. And this is how I know that I'm on the right track. And I wonder if you felt that way before, if you can identify when you felt that. Because that will also help you know that you are on the right track. Even if you have no clue how that's all going to work out, like right now, I do not know how that will work out. And I do not let that sidetrack me. I don't let that deflate me. I just get excited and think, okay, I can't wait to see how Heavenly Father helps me make this a reality or shows me a different path that is even more accurate. So I've told you a little about my story and my travel takeaways, but what does this mean for you? Maybe you don't like traveling, or you aren't even in a position to travel currently. Or maybe your values are completely different and you love the area you're in and you want to bloom where you're planted. Maybe you want to become, I don't know, maybe an accountant or a teacher, an incredible parent, a successful athlete, or whatever that might be. So how does this apply to you? Well, if you're anything like me or my clients, again, I feel like I've said that so many times, you've probably discovered that as you've gotten older, that there are things that you grew up doing that no longer serve you, but you haven't quite managed to shed. So these cultural traditions might be things like overeating or having an unhealthy relationship with food. It might be refusing to talk about feelings and burying them instead, like your family did. It may be avoiding conflict because of a lack of understanding about conflict resolution. Or maybe it's spiritual rigidity or spiritual complacency. Maybe it's working through addictions. Or maybe it's being too materialistic or too stingy, or even being too sedentary, or spending much too long on screens. So as I've talked about these things, what comes to mind for you? What habits have you adopted over time from your family or even your surrounding culture that you know prevent you from becoming your best self, that you would like to shed? What comes to mind? Now, if you can, and if you're willing, I want you to write that down, or maybe several of those things down in your journal. Now, after you do that, I want you to explore what cultural traditions you could collect or adopt instead. Maybe think of that person again that you admire that marches to the beat of their own drum. So what do they do that you admire so much? I think envy can be a really good thing when it motivates us to adopt more of something we're lacking. So I use that as a tool instead of something that you shame yourself for having, because I think it can be very natural to experience envy. But when you get curious instead, it's just a tool for showing you maybe what you want more of in your life, or you know that you need more of in your life and you've just been avoiding it. Like, almost reminds me of Jonah and the whale. Like, you're running from something that you know you want, and then when somebody else has that, you feel envious. In the same journal entry, I want you to write what steps you've already taken to become who you know you were meant to become. Now I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourself in that river like I talked about before. Maybe play some music or go outside and just open your heart and your mind and ask God, or even whatever your higher power is, to help you understand what you can do or what you can shed or collect that will help you understand what the next step is for you. I imagine that with each step I take, I'm a little taller and stronger. Almost like each stepping stone is a necessary step towards my divine growth and development. I want you to just pray for courage. Pray to lean into fear. Pray for guidance and patience and faith. Or if you don't pray, then turn these things into I am statements or these affirmations, or just do both. Whatever it is that will work for you to help you become your best self through collecting and shedding cultural traditions. Maybe your life path hasn't been the way you imagined it to be, but there's still so much ahead, and you always have the power to change your future, even if it's just in one way. We always have options no matter what our circumstances are. And I know that if you'll explore or meditate or pray for guidance or all of the above, you'll find it. Remember, you need to show that you're serious about putting in the work if you really want to change. And just like Heavenly Father, we are so much more willing to help loved ones when they're humble and teachable and proactive in putting in the work towards changing. So show God that you're serious. Show God that you are putting in the work and you're taking the steps to become who you are meant to become. I just want to end with another one of C.S. Lewis's quotes that I love and I have in my office, and it says, "There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind." I pray you remember that as you bravely shed and collect cultural traditions that will help you become your best self moving forward. I believe in you and I know that you can do this. It's going to be amazing to see what you co-create with God. That is all I have for you today. I just have a few more things before we end. I'll share the viral video in just a second, but before that, I just want to remind you about Igniting Life for Individuals that's launching on August 21st of this year. So that's 2023. So this is for you if you want to have more success in the future after the craziness of summer and you just want to get back to more structure. You want to improve your mental health and wellness, and you need something more than what you've been currently doing, and you want it from a trusted source. If this is you, please go to fulfillmenttherapy.org to sign up for one of those spots, because I guarantee you'll get 10 times what you pay according to the market value and what I do with my counseling clients. You get so much more with those extra resources and with that extra accountability than you would ever get in other avenues. Also, as a reminder, I'm doing a retreat in Costa Rica in July of 2024, and there are only 11 spots for this international retreat. We're going to be doing some amazing things like, I couldn't even tell you, so many good things. I'm going to make videos and have all this stuff up, but ziplining, snorkeling, sailing, waterfalls, volcanoes, there's just more and more and more. All of that's coming shortly, but it's going to be incredible. There's going to be a lot of restoration, a lot of clarity that comes from that, and wellness. But it is open first only to those that have signed up for Igniting Life or have had consulting from me, and that is also available on my website, or have been to a previous retreat before. And then after, that will be open to anyone else if there are still spots available. My husband is also going to be doing the same thing at the same time for an adventure wellness retreat in Costa Rica, and this one is an all-male one. So if you are a male and you're interested in that, also sign up. Again, only 11 spots, and we may not be returning to Costa Rica, so this is your chance. Do not delay. All right, now for the viral video. My kids and I love to watch Just for Laughs gags. There's some YouTube videos that are appropriate and funny. I would say almost all of them are. And they make me laugh quite a bit. But this one is just a simple one called Super Magnet Cake Prank. And the rule is if I laugh out loud several times, then I share it because it's pretty entertaining. And I have a few more that I want to share, but I just especially love my kids laughing at these things, and I so badly want to do them. But they put a lot of resources into these things. And this one in particular has 1.3 million views, so you should check it out. And like always, when I first started doing these, remember to share your influence in positive ways. So I am fully okay with supporting the majority of things that these people do because it is good, pure humor for the most part, and I love it. I love mischievous, fun things. So check it out. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's a lot of fun. So if you go to the show notes, there's a link for that you can see. So enjoy. I hope it makes you laugh and smile. And remember, again, share ripples in positive ways in any way you can and support those that are trying to create goodness in the world, whether it's silly pranks or something more important and memorable even that will help people become their best selves. Take care, my friends, and have a fantastic week as always, and I will see you back here soon. If this podcast has helped you gain the insights and skills needed to propel you towards transformation and joy, the number one way to help me is to leave a written review on Apple Podcast. Like you, I'm striving to become my higher self by helping others thrive, and I do that most effectively if you use your influence and give a review. Share this episode with a friend or share it on social media and let others know how it has helped you. I would be so very grateful and excited that we're creating positive ripples in so many lives. If you want to connect, you can find me on Fulfillment Therapy on Facebook and Instagram, or go to fulfillmenttherapy.org. Thanks for listening, and shine boldly and brightly, my friend.